Oh, shoot.
All right. So I have a little bit more of an open-ended agenda today. But I see Haley. Here's Jim. Right. I see Haley's on.
I'm
Uh,
here.
hey Haley, I'm wondering if you could just give us a quick. Hi Jim, just got started. Hey Haley, I
Good
was wondering
evening.
if you could give us an update on budget letters and forms going out. Has everybody been sent their
Yes,
forms? Okay.
everyone's been sent their forms. I've gotten them back from mostly from the Concom Planning Board and ZBA.
Mhm.
Um, I met with the COA today to go over their budget needs, and then I sent some reminder emails to like Board of Health,
Okay.
a couple other committees.
All right. Great. So Haley, I'm wondering if one thing that maybe you could do, which we started, I think a year or two, no, a couple years ago, is I
Mhm.
have a Google folder that we
Okay.
use to store budget, uh, sort of department budgets and other
Mhm.
related documents. And I'm going to add you. I think you probably have access, but I'm going to resend it to you. Let's see. But if you could um, add copies of any budgets you get
Okay.
into that folder, that would be great. All right. So,
Okay. I'll upload them tomorrow because they're on my computer hard drive.
gotcha. Okay. That'd be great.
And
And
AJ,
then,
could you send us all a link to that folder?
yeah,
And could you also upload the letter and the schedule to that
yeah,
folder?
that's a good idea. All right. Let's see. Okay. I think I'll just do this, make sure I do it correctly when we wrap up tonight. But I will send everybody access to this Google folder. And what I'll do there is we'll keep the department budgets there. When we start to do department head meetings, the expectation is that everybody will have spent a little bit of time reviewing their budget proposals before we meet with them so that you can be prepared with any questions you have or anything you need further explanation or clarification about. So that folder will be where you'll find them. Um, and I'll also keep the latest budget meeting schedule in that folder as well. So, and I usually put the date of when they were last revised, when that schedule was last revised. So if you're ever losing track or want to know who's coming up, you can find the schedule in that folder. And I'll put the the final letter and form. I guess the letter in that folder as well. Okay. Haley, any sort of feedback or any questions come up from anybody you've talked to that we need to be aware of?
No, it's pretty
Okay.
straightforward.
Okay.
I think the only increase in funding was to the Zoning Board of Appeals because the increased cost of newspaper advertising.
Yeah. So, okay. That's a requirement, right? That they have to
Yes.
post. Okay, got it. Molly, I think I saw your hand up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've talked to Marianne and
Hmm.
she has, and I know she's been talking to Haley too. So she has a number of new
Hmm.
um, costs that are coming to the
Hmm.
library that we're not quite sure where they're going to be budgeted.
Hmm.
Water testing, I think we've already heard of, but there's like HVAC maintenance and internet security, panic button, fire alarm monitoring, window washing, bathroom supplies. There's like a
Hmm.
number
Hmm.
of things. Apparently, they used to go across the street and get toilet paper from town hall when they had a functioning bathroom. And I think it would be better if they actually had some in the building.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. I know she has a pretty detailed budget, but I suspect there is
She has a
something.
supplies line
Supplies
that,
line, yeah.
so like the panic button has been, I think, in the town budget. It's just
Yeah.
because of like this new building and then Haley's
Yeah.
familiarity with the budgets, trying to make sure that we're accounting for these things.
Yeah.
With the idea that if we put it in the library's budget, then it does increase their so their budget has to increase by 2.5% on average over 3 years to be accredited by the
Mhm.
state, but also they have to spend a certain percentage of their municipal appropriation on materials.
Yes, that's
So
I remember, I didn't realize there were two. I
yeah, it's
remember
the
the
MAR and the
materials.
MER.
Yeah. Okay. So, right. So that actually was the explanation for why we didn't add a custodian line to the library budget, and we increased the general town hall custodian line
Yeah.
$5,000 in anticipation of the new building, but which was obviously a separate line. So I think what we're going to need to do when we meet with Mary Ann is not only just learn about what the new expenses are related to the new building, but then make a decision about where in the budget each of those expenses is going to get
Yeah.
recorded and captured.
Yeah, and she's like the building's going to be starting operating this year, and she's already figured out how to pay for things this year.
Okay, got it.
So she did anticipate those costs, or at least some of them, and has figured out ways to pay for them.
Okay, Susie?
And I know that Molly was checking into, and Mary Ann, some of the expenses that are in the town budget, like heat and electricity. With this new building, some of those costs will be less. And so it's a good process to help identify what costs that are already in the town budget that will be lowered by having a new building. And that takes some digging, but it would be part of the effect of having a new building. There's some positives, not only new expenses. And I'm also struck by the idea that the state's happy to help us build it. It was an extraordinary grant, but it's like drive off a cliff. Now you have a new building with all these expenses, and there's no other funding stream for that. So thinking about how to look at that, it seems important to me, because it's good to have a building, but we have to figure out what the actual costs increases are and how to meet them.
Yeah. I mean, this is maybe an out of the box idea, but I wonder if there are potential revenue opportunities with the new building that we, might want to talk to her about. Thinking like sort of renting out the meeting room space or something. If people, these are probably not like significant generators, but maybe like some things that would be worth. I mean, they're going to be some impressive resources, and I wonder, and they're probably not going to be booked for library activities,
100% of the time.
100% of the time. And I wonder if there might be an opportunity. Anyway, something to talk about. Molly, I think
so we at Forbes Library, where I work, we have several meeting rooms. And generally, like if you're a nonprofit or if you're doing something related to the library, you get to use the room for free.
Sure.
But if you're doing something for profit, or if you're using it for a private event, then we do charge, but it's nominal.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be a huge revenue stream, but I mean,
of course. But everything, but
every little bit helps.
Every little bit helps.
Yep.
And like, this is, I mean, there's, so many people work remotely these days, but like so don't have access to like an office, but like might, need to meet with people occasionally. And instead of meeting at Share Coffee, might be up for renting a room at the library. Anyway, it's a thought. I think it's something worth bringing up with Mary Ann. Okay. But yeah, I think we will, one of the decisions we'll have to make is where to put each of these new expenses. And I'm actually curious. I think the town is going to want some information about kind of what are the costs of running this new building. And I think we're going to want to be able to respond to those kinds of questions. And it's going to be complicated, right? Because there are going to be things that there are going to be expenses that sort of fall on outside of the library budget, but are nevertheless related to the building. And we'll want to have a good sense of that. Okay. All right. Yeah, George.
Before we leave the subject of the FY27 budget, so our next meeting is our
Yes.
first meeting with managers is December 2nd, which is our next meeting. I reached out to the highway chief.
Mhm.
He hasn't gotten back to me, but I'll confirm that he can make that meeting. He said he was going to look at the numbers and he was going to get back to me soon. So I'm expecting to hear from him in the next day or two. And I'll follow up with him tomorrow anyways and confirm that he can be there. What time would you want him there?
Okay. I think, can somebody remind me who is it? Jim,
I
are
think
you
it's-
the Lenny's liaison? Okay.
Yeah,
Have
he's
you had a chance to touch base with him? Or?
no, I'm in the same category as George.
All right.
So yeah, maybe I have the same question then. What time we want to have
Yeah.
Lenny there also?
I can't, can we think of any reason why we'd want to do one of those before the other? I don't, it's kind of arbitrary.
Well, for what it's worth, I'm not going to be at that meeting. I'm unfortunately traveling that day. So
Gotcha.
coming
Okay.
back from SF. So I'm not going to be able to attend the meeting. But,
Okay.
David's done this before. I think he's going to have it together. And I'm certainly going to work with him if he has any questions or issues.
Yeah. And, you can, if there are any, I suspect there probably won't be, but if you have any sort of comments or questions you want us to follow up with him on, maybe things that you guys talked about that he offered to follow up, and
I'll send you an email, AJ, about
just
that.
send me an email then.
Yeah, I'll do that. The other thing I wanted to mention was if the fire department is going to be there that day, if I may, Jim, I'm on the capital planning committee and we're collecting information from all the different departments about their capital items. And one of the items that Lenny had was the SCBA's, the breathing apparatus. And I think that's in the budget.
Mhm.
And so I don't want to put in the capital plan if we're paying it for replacements each year. So I was hoping you folks could ask him that question during the meeting. I would have asked it if I was here.
That's the scuba, the air.
Yeah, what's SB breathing
Thanks.
apparatus single. I don't know what the SC stands for. I used to, but anyways, he's got it in the capital plan. But I do believe we're buying those in the budget every year. So I'm not sure it needs to be in the capital plan. So if we could just get a clarification for him on that point.
Right.
Thank you.
So let's do highway at 6:30 and fire at 7:30.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll let him know.
Okay.
Fire at 7:30.
Yeah. Okay. And just for folks out, I think we used to do it like 6:45 and 7:45, but like we can always do the minutes after. Might as well meet with people
Sure.
at the top of the meeting at 6:30.
Yeah.
CZ, did you have another
Well,
follow-up?
just the thing about the air tanks is I thought that got lumped all together in equipment. Remember
Yeah.
how we gave them a one category? But that's what happens over time as information gets a little lost. So
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right. I agree. And that's my recollection too, Susie. So we just need to confirm with him. Or maybe be a little more, we should check it and go back to our records and inform him that that's what's happened, what we've been doing, instead of asking him. Not
yeah,
that I
I'll
can
check.
find
I'll
any-
check it out. I'll
Yeah,
find.
that was my recollection too. I thought we're replacing not all of them at one time, but so many each year. Wasn't that
And so we
It's
just
like-
kept it rolling. So there was no
Yeah.
point to make it a capital purchase. We're just,
right?
and the same thing with hoses, as a matter of fact,
Yeah.
Okay.
also in equipment. So I guess we should just reiterate that with him, and we're not going to put it in the capital plan unless somebody gives me a reason to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the capital plan is really meant to be for one-time expenses, right? And so this, I mean, this is an ongoing, recurring, known expense that,
Each and right. If we bought every 10 years, if we replaced all the apparatus every 10
Mhm.
years, we'd call that a capital item. But
Right.
yeah,
because there's small ticket items individually and we're
Mhm.
rotating them
Yeah.
and doing replacements, it doesn't qualify as capital.
But the
Okay.
exception to that I remember a discussion around was the defibrillators. Um, and I'll go back and look in the minutes and see what happened because that wasn't in the original equipment ones. That was something that might be replaced one at a time, and I have no idea what they cost.
He didn't put it in his capital plan. It's not here.
Yeah, so I'll look back at that meeting when we switched it over to equipment and see what was listed.
Okay.
Is this like an AED?
Yeah.
Okay, the
Yeah.
library just bought one and it was $2,400.
Uh-huh.
And their understanding was that they would need new batteries for it and they need to replace it about once every 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's some on the truck and there was some question about when they time out the equipment itself, not just the batteries. So I'll go back and find out what we know, but this will be part of Jim's conversation with Lenny.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So, all right. So hopefully Dave and Lenny will be ready to go on December 2nd.
I'll let you know for sure. I'll confirm.
Okay, great.
and likewise with Lenny.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, just maybe shoot me an email if any reason either of them has a problem with this.
Yeah, and if we do, then you'll have to find another place for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. All right. Let's see the next item. All right, let's look at some minutes. So George sent 2 minutes, great minutes from the Four Towns meeting. I don't remember us actually keeping minutes from the Four Towns meeting, so I think that it's going to be actually super helpful.
Yeah, I did it last year actually.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, because we were all together and we kind of
Yeah.
been told we got to do that, and we, had our
That's
heads handed to us the one time we didn't.
Right. Good to have. Okay. All right. So let me first pull up the November 4th minutes. And I looked at these and they look good to me.
I had one thing.
Okay, let's go Molly and then Susie.
In VB, update of long range plan, it says discussed how it will prepare us for.
Oh, yeah.
Armageddon.
Yeah, fill in the blank. I'm sorry, which one? This is on
Oh,
November
this is
5.
update. Yeah. This
Five.
is November 4th. Yeah.
5B. Page 1.
For budget
Was that-
discussions. How's that sound?
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe the fiscal summit also.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking when I said budget
Yeah.
discussions. But
Yeah.
all right, yeah, you want me to change that?
Yeah. That'd be great.
Prepare us for fiscal. What did you want me to say?
Summit.
Oh, summit. That's the word. Okay. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
catch that. Okay. Yeah, you got
That
it.
meeting we're going to do in January.
It'll be February.
Susie.
And then on 8D, the cost of that dues for the Association of Town Finance Committees was 150.
Oh, okay.
not
Now 450.
Yeah. So we just
Okay.
saved $300. Thank you.
That's awesome, Susie. Okay.
Haley, I think you sent me an email. Sorry, I didn't get to respond yet. That transfer form is in the mailbox. Is that
Yes.
what you read? Okay. So
Wait, but it does, what I also found out from Gail was
Mm-hmm.
that had already been paid. So I noticed on the ledger expense sheet, $150 had been taken out and that was in July.
From
So
FinCom Reserve?
from the FinCom reserve.
Okay.
Oh, well, yeah, yes. And so then I was wondering, how did that happen? But anyways, I had filled out all the paperwork and brought it in to talk to Gail because of that 150 deducted. And she said, yeah, that had been paid
Okay.
in July.
All right. Well, I assume we still need the paperwork, like
Oh,
a record that we did a transfer, right? In order for
could be.
even if it's sort of retroactive.
Yeah, for that one and for the conference expenses.
Yeah. Okay. So was that what the 450 was? Was that a combination of the two? Or is that actually a typo?
A typo.
Okay.
I wouldn't call it a typo. I'd say the writer didn't.
Misunderstanding.
Yes, I'll take that.
All right. Let's see. All right. Any other questions or corrections?
So does that mean the transfer for Haley's expenses in the box too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we
So
all have to go
we'll-
up and sign?
Yeah, so we'll have to all take a trip over to town hall. And in the FinCom mailbox will be the forms, transfer forms.
Yeah, I would just make a request about this. This has been something we've done in the past, something we haven't done in the past. And I was wondering, Haley, if you wouldn't mind, when you put those in the box, if you could just shoot us all an email and say, hey, there's a transfer waiting to be signed for the
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Do you guys need to like physically sign it, or I could try to set it up so that it's just like an e-sign?
Ooh, that would be great if that's an option. Can we
Yeah,
Yeah.
can we ask
Okay.
Gail if
Do
that's
that.
if we could auto pen it or
Yeah, I'll check in. She'll be in tomorrow.
okay, great.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see why not, right? Like a DocuSign kind of thing.
You'll
Yeah.
get it signed faster.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 4th as amended.
Second.
Second. Oh, wait, I can't second it. Sorry.
All right, George,
Overnight, aye.
is it me? Cashew eye.
Mosier, aye.
Moss eye.
Soito abstain.
Walton abstain.
All right. Okay, so that's November 4th, minutes approved. And then we have the Four Town meeting minutes.
Nice job too, by the way, AJ.
Oh, sure, yeah.
At the town meeting, though, that was good. It was
Thanks,
nice
yeah.
to be in a room where everybody was, nobody was jockeying for position.
Yeah. Yeah, I put an item on the agenda to just debrief the meeting, but
Oh yeah, all right. I'm jumping the gun.
so we can
Sorry.
dive we can talk about that after we approve these minutes. So yeah, these look great to me. I thought they were really comprehensive. Anybody have anything, Susie?
Yeah, I'm a little mixed up with where things were talked about, but
Okay.
there's two other parts of the chapter 70 that's being discussed. One is the local contribution,
Mhm.
and the other one is the cap at 82.5%. And I don't remember if those came up in this particular meeting because the first group, the fiscal sustainability,
Yeah.
covered a lot of topics,
I
but
don't
those are
think
pretty hot ones.
I don't think they covered the 82%. I know we heard that in Greenfield.
Yeah.
I don't recall hearing it at this meeting, and
Okay, that's
I
what
would
I'm-
think that Leverett wouldn't want to talk about it, and probably not Pelham because I think they're at the 82% and they would lose.
Hmm.
Yeah, because no, Leverett's at the 82%. They wouldn't get any aid if it wasn't for that. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember where it came
And
in.
what was the first one you said about the conversation about the
The
local aid?
the local contribution, they're saying things like, the formula for the foundation is flawed, and then the local contribution has when Student Opportunity Act came in, caused the local contribution to get skewed also. But I don't know where I don't
I
know
think
if
that was covered. I think that was actually the fair share thing. They were mentioned. I don't have them in here. I thought maybe I did.
Yeah,
Net
you have
fair
it on
share on the other side, yeah.
I uh
Be
I
number
four.
2I.
Yeah.
All
New
right,
fair
yeah.
share income tax revenue not distributed.
Right, yeah. Yeah, okay. I mean, I didn't get into detail. I just wanted to, know what was
Right.
being discussed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just let it go because it probably comes up and again. It'll come up again.
Yes.
It'll come up relentlessly.
Oh, yeah. I hope so.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on these minutes? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 8th as written.
Second.
Arvanites, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, I.
Moss abstain.
So do I.
Walton abstain.
Okay, great. All right, so we've got minutes approved. So I guess we can dive into just any comments or any reflections on the Four Towns meeting or any follow-ups that folks. Haley, I want to check in on whether the select board had formally I guess it's two things. One, sort of formally agreed to participate in this collaborative study group, and if so, if they've like identified anybody who's a specific person or people that would be involved.
Not yet, but at the meeting on Tuesday, that's part of my
Okay.
TA update.
So I heard from a couple people from the other towns. So I think there's a couple of scenarios that I think are getting worked out. I think if I understand it correctly, there's some folks in Amherst who want there to be sort of two reps for Amherst on this group. I think partly because they're a large, obviously a significantly larger town. But I also think, and I think some of this dynamic was kind of came up in that meeting, which is that there are two town councilors who are very interested, but who have not been part of this informal Four Towns working group. And so I think there's a thought that they're going to need to have at least one of those two counselors participate, along with somebody who's been involved in this working group. So I'm not sure if that's the case, but I think that's definitely something that needs to be worked out. And I think the other small towns, Pelham and Leverett, one proposal they had was that each of the small towns could identify a participant in the meeting and then sort of a backup person that could be available, I guess, in the event that the primary person's not able to meet on any given meeting, and also if for some reason it is decided that, well, all four towns ought to be equally represented on this group. So I guess what I'm asking is if when the select board takes this up, if they could take two actions. One would be to formally agree to participate in this group, the study group, and then if they could appoint I guess, or discuss two people that would be involved.
Okay.
So in terms of who that would be, I have no idea if there's somebody on the select board that's eager to participate. If you are, Haley, if there are
Mhm.
members of the FinCom, I would be interested in being involved, but I don't know, I also don't want to assume that,
Mhm.
that has to be. So but I'll just throw it
I
out.
think
Susie.
I'm confused as that the outside number. So if it's two from Amherst, one
Yeah.
from Pelham, Leverett, and Shutesbury, that's a
Yeah.
5-member board. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I guess so yeah, it would be 5 plus the somebody from the regional school
Alternates.
committee, yeah, and the either the superintendent or um the finance director. And I think potentially Sean Mangano also. So I think the
Hmm.
the point was that I don't think this is it totally worked out how many people are going to sit and participate in this group. I think there is some thought that it's like it's got to be kept to a manageable number and not become too enormous. The way I think the Four Towns group had talked about it was that initially was that each town would be represented by one member of its select board or finance committee, plus key resources, including the superintendent or the superintendent's designee and someone from the regional school committee. So I think that was initially thought to be around 7 or 8 people, but I think these details need to be worked out. But in terms of what I think Shutesbury has to do is right now, I think to be safe, identify 2 people that would be willing to, participate and be available for this.
I would support it being you, AJ, because covering the ground all over again for new
Yes.
people is not useful. And I think you have established your point of view enough for people to know you and trust you. And to start in with somebody else, I hope nobody starts with somebody who hasn't been. Sounds like one more Amherst person might be not that with enough
Yeah.
background, but it shouldn't slow the process down at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I hope that's what
Mhm.
happens. Can I ask you, a backup representative for Leverett and Pelham and possibly Shutesbury? Would they actually attend meetings so that they'd always be?
I think it has to be worked out, and I think the thinking was that that person could either play a backup role, or if it turns out that we're going to have that the smaller communities are going to insist on having sort of equal representation on this group, that we would then have 2 people from, because I
Well,
think it's a foregone conclusion that Amherst is going to send 2 people in this group.
Yeah,
I think it's
and
going
I think it was Mary Jo,
Yeah.
Joe, I forget.
Randy Joe.
Yeah, she was the one who I remember her talking about this.
yes,
I was going to say, if you're a backup person and you're not going to meetings, you're going to get
yeah,
everything secondhand. But having a backup person come and having 2 reps at the meetings, but only one person is the formal
Speaker.
rep who
Yeah.
can speak, and the
Yeah.
other person's just, they can speak if that person doesn't show to the next meeting.
right, yeah. So I
just
think right,
just
yeah, no, that makes sense, and I think the details have to be sort of hammered out. But
Yeah.
um, is there anybody else from this group that wants to at least put their name out there for the select board to be aware of? And I mean, it's ultimately their decision, but I don't know.
And what is their time frame they usually meet? When of nights, days?
Meetings, it's usually during the day, and it's by Zoom, and I think this is probably, if I had to guess, I think this is probably going to be like an every other week kind of thing. So I think maybe twice a month is probably a pretty safe bet.
I
George,
would do it as part of my connection to the local school.
Mhm.
Um, but I can't do Wednesdays. That's period.
Okay. Okay. All right, Haley, if you could make sure that the select board, yeah, takes this up at their next meeting. And I guess if you could just convey that, Susie and myself have volunteered to participate if that's the direction they want to go.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, great. All right. Well, so in terms of debriefing the meeting, I don't know what people thought. I thought it was a positive meeting, and I think I've heard that kind of feedback that this, I think for many people, this felt like the rare time where this meeting has felt like people were more or less. I mean, there was some, there's some sort of pushback on some of the like specific items shared in the regional school committee's presentation, but I think for the most part, it felt like people were kind of on the same page. But I don't know. What did others think?
I don't think we got into the territory that does cause the friction.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds like being an old crabby lady, but a lot of the information, I mean, even Deb Leonard said, when they look back at the archives in 2007, it's all there. It's already all there. And she said there were recommendations they followed and some of the tougher ones they didn't. So I felt like we were listening to people who were finally invested in the process and learned a lot. And that's exciting, except for we need to go beyond that level. And I think that's part of why it wasn't contentious.
Yeah.
No question. I think that was on purpose.
Yeah.
I got the feeling that they tried to avoid the waters with the sharks in them and just make sure, get us started on the right foot. And the superintendent was very gracious about, appreciating that.
Yeah. You're right, though. There's the hard work has yet to come. And
It's going to turn. It's going to turn. I've been in enough of these working groups to know.
Yeah. I think it got communicated, but I don't know if everybody, but it wasn't, I'm not sure everybody at the meeting heard this, but Amherst has set a guideline for their departments of 3.5%, which I think is actually higher than I think a lot of people had assumed. So I just wanted to make sure you all were aware of that. So, they have a little bit of a different process than us, where their finance committee actually establishes a numerical guideline, and the expectation is that all service areas that will be uniformly applied to all service areas. So that, and I think this is probably based on some new growth estimates that they have, but they've established that guideline at 3.5%. I know that John Trickey said at one point, and I don't know if this was just a flippant comment or if he actually has sort of done the math, but he said that would be override territory for Pelham. I wonder if that's actually the case. But anyway, at least I think we have some sense of maybe how the superintendent is going to begin the budget drafts. It's probably going to start at that point of like setting Amherst at 3.5% and then calculate what that means for everybody else, and we'll see. George.
Yeah, I think Pelham has been hitting the guardrail, and I think that's how the numbers have been working out. Every time Amherst goes 3.5%, it's like almost double. Wasn't it double digits for them last year? So so the reason I raised my hand is I just want to say being a veteran of these group meetings in the past, that yes, Susie, they get contentious, and we're working across purposes. But I will say that I got the sense that everybody in that room was sincere, and I also think the makeup of individuals, looking back on the history of some of the people that were representing some of the other towns and looking who's representing these towns now, I actually think this is a better group to work with. I
Yeah.
hate to say it, I'm not going to name towns, but there was one town in particular that was just totally
Mhm.
contentious and
Right.
nasty, and their select board member and their finance committee members were just hard to work with.
Mhm.
And I don't see that kind of energy here. I see much more
Mhm.
positive energy. I
Mhm.
hope that does turn out to be the case, but
Yeah.
there's reason for optimism.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I should point out I've had a few opportunities to talk with Steve Weiss on the Leverett Finance
Finance committee.
Committee and have found him to be very good person to work with. And he and I even actually just said we should kind of keep like our channels of communication open about a variety of topics, not just schools, but um, you know, regionalization kinds of topics, like if there are any opportunities to do that, cost sharing things. So I think we have a partner in Leverett that is very open to talking with us and about potential um, you know cost saving kinds of solutions. And so I
The
think we should take
future
them up on
is, I was going to say, the future is if things don't change, towns are going to have to pull together on certain things.
that. Yeah,
We've seen it with Leverett and Wendell, and
yeah,
it's just it may be the only way option we have to save money. It may
yeah,
not always work, of course,
yeah.
but finding
And
those
actually,
areas where it can.
yeah, and on that point, and maybe Haley, you might know something about this. Steve had mentioned that he thought he had heard from Pat Duffy. Is it Pat Duffy in Leverett? Yeah,
Yeah.
that that they had reached out to the Shutesbury Select Board to see if there was any interest in, I think, the police like regional, like further police regionalization with Wendell and Leverett. Is that? Do you know anything about that? And
Yes.
okay.
They did reach out and they sent a copy of the agreement they have with Wendell. We
Mhm.
looked at it and there didn't seem to be a lot of cost savings on our end. And I
Got it.
think you'll find that even when folks regionalize, like say police departments, there's not always a cost savings because you have to factor in equipment and
Mhm.
oversight, and you kind of give all your assets to the other town to manage. So then you end up
Mhm.
losing more assets. But yeah, they had reached out and we decided that at this point it wasn't the best fit for us.
So did they, was there like a specific proposal or something that they had shared with the select board or?
They proposed something similar to what they do in Leverett and
Okay.
excuse me, in Wendell, and then
Yeah.
they sent their agreement that they have with Wendell, like
Okay. Got it.
as something we could look at.
I see. Got it. Okay. If you wouldn't mind sharing that with the finance
Mhm.
man, I'd just be curious to learn more about it and how their how their you know
Yeah.
collaboration works. It'd be interesting to learn about that. Okay. Um, I did have one related topic to that I needed to inform you guys about, which is related to this middle school roof project, which I think everybody knows is so there are a couple of updates. One is that I was told that they did get a grant letter from the MSBA, so that I think at the time of our special town meeting, it was a proposal. It has been approved, so there is a approved project. Um, the second thing is that Pelham has decided that they want to pay their portion of the roof project costs out of a capital stabilization fund that they have specifically been building for this purpose. I don't know over what period of time, but so in order to do that, there has to be an agreement that all four towns sign off on. And so there was a meeting with that. I think Haley, you were in on that as well, right?
Mhm.
Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I think it's fairly straightforward for Shutesbury. I don't see any. I couldn't see any reason for us to not approve this, but there'll be more details to share with you guys once we actually see some paperwork on it. But the concept is basically that when the regional's capital plan gets assessed for each town, for all three communities other than Pelham, a portion of our regional debt payment that we're be responsible for in each of the following years will be initially short term and then eventually probably long term debt for the roof project. That will not be a component that exists in Pelham's capital assessment for the region. That the agreement will have some language that basically says that Pelham is going to pay the amount that is estimated at this point in time, but that if the final costs are greater than that amount, they will be assessed that amount and they'll be responsible for paying it. And if
they're going to pay up front.
They're going to pay up front, yeah, based on that estimate that was provided. And if the actual final project costs are below, which is probably more likely, they're going to get refunded somehow, that whatever the difference is. So that agreement is being worked on right now by the lawyers, and I guess we'll see it at some point soon. Susie.
Do we have our number for what it's going to cost us?
Well, we have an estimate. Let me see what that is. Oh, shoot, I wrote it down somewhere. Where did I put that? All right. I might have to email you all. I took note of it, but then I have so many different notes on my computer. Can't remember where I put
It was 10 million, wasn't it? 10 million something? I don't. We had a number, they upped it.
Yeah, but we have a number for Shutesbury's portion of it.
Oh, right.
All right. I'll have to pull that up and send it to you after the meeting.
So does that mean that Pelham's not liable for any of the borrowing costs that get added into the price? And so that's part of his particular orientation, is to not pay the borrowing costs.
That's precisely why they're doing this, is that they didn't want to, knowing that this was going to be a project on the horizon, they've been putting aside money for it, and they don't want to incur any interest expense for it. So that's why they're doing this. Jim?
Yeah, I'm just curious, why would we even have to, we as the other three towns have to sign off on something like that? I'm thinking the same thing. Why can't Shutesbury, if we decided we wanted to save up some money for something like this and we didn't want to bring in more debt into our community, why couldn't we make that same decision without having to get sign off?
We could. Yeah, we could.
Three other. I'm sorry.
We could.
No, I'm saying,
if they can do it, we can do it.
No. What I mean is, why do we need to sign off?
Apparently we have to go through this process. I'll read to you what. Not that it's going to explain much, but I'll read to you what Shannon mentioned. Wait, where is that? Or how she described it.
I can imagine if some town was coming up with some scenario that looked risky as far as their, how they would be able to commit to making those payments, but something that's pretty straightforward. They're managing their cash and their debt the same way every town does.
That wasn't clear to me either, but and obviously any individual town could fund its debt assessment in any year through whatever means we wanted to, including cash reserve. So we could always do that. The difference here is that Pelham actually wanted to pay their entire costs for the project upfront and not incur any interest expense at all. And
Yeah.
for some reason, I don't know the exact details, but apparently, in order to do this, it requires an agreement of the entire region. Yeah. So there's some legal reason. I'm not sure I can explain why.
Yeah,
It-
interesting.
It's not
Yeah.
surprising that there is.
Yeah.
It's in a
George.
War region.
Yeah, just so for everybody's information, I attended a capital planning meeting last year. Various towns were there, and John Trickey was pretty much the one who pulled it together. And I was just a new member of the capital planning committee, so Bob Groves and we went down. The town of Pelham pretty much pays for all capital items with cash. What they do, if I remember him correctly, they have a debt exclusion override every year, and they're taking, we're going to have a debt exclusion override when the library debt starts hitting the budget, and we're going to fund that debt service with a debt exclusion override, additional revenue in our tax levy specifically for that. They have an addition to their tax revenue specifically for stabilization accounts, and they load up their stabilization accounts and they keep big balances. And when these things come along, they write a check.
How do they determine what they're contributing to that account every
I
year?
don't know. That's a good question. They probably decided, we're going to just do this big number. We're going to do it every year. That's a question for John. I'm sure John would correct me on a thing or two, but in general, that's what they're doing.
Got it. Mhm.
Yeah. And, if you build it in your tax base and it's always there, people don't feel an adjustment. And then when you buy stuff, there's no pain. And it's kind of what we do in our operating budget, right? We
Right.
always had
That's
the
what
capital
it is.
stabilization transfer, but when we had debt service, we would lower that transfer by the amount of the debt service. Last
Right.
year, we set it to zero because we had all these debt items, so
Mhm.
that we smooth out the impact. So they're
Yeah.
doing it in a slightly different way than we do.
Susie?
And I talked to Gail Weiss about it a little bit.
Mhm.
And I don't have a full understanding of it, but it did sound like it was a budget, it was an operating budget line that the select board gets to vote that they will increase it by 2.5 every year as an operating expense. And it is used for projects. And she said mostly they just can do it because they have enough money. They started off with a chunk of money. And then that's what they've determined is in their operating budget for these capital expenses. And
So the 2.5% is an increase on whatever transfer they made in the prior year. You're saying they just add 2.5% every
Yeah.
year to that amount?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at some point they started this and then they've been basically every year they make that contribution plus 2.5%. Yeah.
they started it, but it's an operating expense.
Right.
So yeah. And so every year in their budget, they already count that money there. And she said they mostly can buy things on the first request, but sometimes they say, no, you'll have to wait a year. And then because it's in their operating budget and it gets, so I would like to know a little bit more about it. I think that we have funds that we could start making this dedicated thing to. I didn't hear the part where it might have started with an override, but that is certainly one of the mechanisms people can do, a debt excluded override for capital. So we can find out about it. And actually, I think this year we're looking at all sorts of tools, and I would like to find out more about that particular tool.
Yeah.
So my tool list.
I bet if we wanted to, we could ask John to join. He loves talking about this.
Oh, he does. Yeah, he does.
So we could invite him to a meeting and just say, hey, tell us a little bit about what you guys do and what the history of it is and what kind of how the community feels about it. And
I would like to do that.
And there's no doubt the method they're choosing to follow saves them interest costs.
Yeah.
So
So they
the other
literally,
methods,
I mean, George, is it like they literally do no borrowing at all? I mean,
that's
for
what he
any capital-
said. Yeah, no, that's what he said. In the town of Pelham, we don't borrow. We pay cash for everything. And those were his words.
Sounds like Bob Groves.
Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah.
we went online, I'll do it. I'll go online and I'll look at their budget And I'll
I mean,
bet you
this
there's
is
not a debt service line.
I went, man, I was gonna say like, doesn't this like impact their bond rating and all that? But if they like literally never borrow money,
Yeah, it's not an issue.
It's not an issue.
Yeah, you know, they built the safety complex in the library
Mhm.
25, 30 years ago. I don't know how they funded that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Good.
And we know that our Joe Markarian recommendations did include carrying some
Yeah.
loans and debt. That's in the recommendation by a person that came out of DOR. So
It's
it's
just
not,
like your personal credit rating, right? They say a little debt makes you
Yeah.
look,
oh,
you
I
know,
think we can find
responsible,
maybe a
solvent.
happy medium.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll ask John to join us if he'd be up for joining us to talk about this. Okay, great. So I will Haley or myself will share the agreement once we actually see something in writing. And then I assume we're gonna have to, I don't know, I assume we'll have to vote on this at annual town meeting, I guess. Yeah. Okay. I think next on the agenda, or anything else on school.
AJ, when you say vote on this, what do you mean? What,
So
what?
so this agreement that all four towns are going to have to approve to allow Pelham to pay for the
Oh.
roof up front. Yeah, I think that's going to have to come. That's going to have to be approved by maybe it's just the select board. Haley, do you know if that's actually something that needs to be approved by the town at a town meeting, or is that something the select board can approve?
I don't know off the top of my
Yeah.
head, but I can find out.
Yeah, so we'll see. One of those entities is going to have to approve this. Okay. Next up, I think is George. I know that we have a final calculation of our FY26 tax rate, and was wondering if you could walk us through
Yep,
that
no,
and
happy
talk
to
about
do it.
how it compared to our projections.
Yeah, so if I could share the screen, that would be
Yeah.
helpful.
Let's see. Okay. Can you do it now?
Give me 1 second. I'm trying to do something here. Yeah, that
Okay.
let me yep. So this is the information that I have as a member of the Board of Assessors. So and I'm going to show you this in comparison to what we did, what we were projecting, but basically the important information here is our new fiscal levy limit, the amount that we're raising to fund the budget, our new excess levy capacity. I'm going to cover all of these, and also the tax rate. The rate was approved by the state, and we are going to continue with a single tax rate, commercial, open space, all the different categories, and residential are all going to be at the same rate, with the exception of the 1.5, 2 cents that gets added to the residential for the means testing discount for people who request it, which is essentially people who have used the earning tax. I forget what it's called. It's the income tax credit that they get in their state return. If your income is below a certain level, you can get a credit to lower your tax liability. Anybody who qualifies for that on their state tax return qualifies for a discount on Shutesbury approved a policy of allowing them to use get a means test discount, which essentially means we lower their property tax bill. And that's funded by all the rest of us through a slight increase in the tax rate. Didn't mean to go there, but
Yeah.
so I can show you that real quick. So here's the tax rate. These are our new tax rates. This is residential. This is the tax rate for all classes except residential. This is the tax rate for residential. So $16.21. I don't have it in front of me. I think last year was 15 something, 1583. Oh, actually, you know what? I can tell you.
1580.
1580. Okay. Oh yeah, it's not here. Never mind. Okay. Anyways, so the tax rate's in place, but what I'm going to show you everything right now. What I did was I took what we proposed. This is what we presented in September at the special town meeting. This is the revenue page. It's the exact same information, the exact same format that we present to the town for our proposed. And then this is what the assessors came up with.
Mhm.
So I just put them side by side, and I'm going to go down and show you the differences. So this first section, remember, is just our levy ceiling. It's the assessed property value of the town times $25 per thousand. The most we could assess a tax levy at is 9.5 million. We're not even close.
Yeah.
We're like assessing 70% of that, 71% of that. This number is basically a 5%, 4.6% increase over what it was in the previous year. That was the previous year's. Slightly adjusted by us because we put new growth in it. That's the number we use. But anyhow,
Mhm.
our assessed values in the town grew by about 5%.
Mhm.
In our estimate, we estimated the 2.5. Well, that's an easy calculation. We got that right. New
Mhm.
growth, we said 45. We were a little low, which is good, but disappointing because we wanted to be a lot low. Usually in new growth, it's where we can be very conservative. And in previous years, we've been coming up with much larger amounts than 45,000. So this was actually a big disappointment for me.
Mhm.
You remember going into fiscal 25, we thought we were going to be using excess levy capacity to balance that year, and we ended up increasing it by like 100,000 because of utility companies that put up all the poles.
Right.
That didn't happen this year. So
Mhm.
one of our misses when we talk about, and the reason I did this, I guess I'm a little disheveled right now, but the reason I did this was that there was an article in the paper yesterday, I'm sure most of you are aware of it, where the Gazette reporter had attended or saw the recording of the minutes, the meeting between the select board and head assessor, the person we contracted to prepare the tax rate this year. And he reported on all these those numbers I just showed you, the tax rate, and also the average single taxpayer tax bill. And the average single family home tax bill ended up coming out $98 higher than what we presented in forecast at town meeting. And so I put this together to help us decipher why that happened
Mhm.
so that we can avoid that embarrassment in the future. Because personally, I'm embarrassed by it. I thought we should come closer, and we didn't. So the first thing I did was I looked at our revenue estimates and I compared them to the actual, and you can see we actually did better on this particular item. So
Mhm.
when we get down to this subtotal, we're okay. We got the debt exclusion override piece. We knew that number. That was right.
Mhm.
So then you have the excess levy capacity. This is basically our miss. We thought that it was going to be 644. It's smaller, which means we used more excess levy capacity. I think everybody knows what that means.
Mhm.
So this is actually, it's a positive number, but it's a negative number from
Mhm.
our point of view. And I'm going to show you the breakout. I've got a whole table that shows how we got to this number.
Okay.
Now, on the overlay is a cushion that the assessors put in for the amount that they need to make sure that if people don't pay or there's abatements, we collect a little extra tax than levy than we need. And so we thought that what they would do is we thought that we would need this amount of money to balance our budget, but we thought they'd use an overlay of 40. So we used a 6104, a higher number up in this upper section when we calculated what the excess levy capacity may be. The assessor used a lower number, which means we actually underestimated revenue, if you will, or the decrease to revenue. So this is a positive for us.
Mhm.
And we could talk about overlays in the future, but that's just another thing. These are all small numbers.
Yeah.
And then you get to state aid. And on the state aid, I'm just going to go to the bottom line. State ended up giving us $10,000 less than we thought.
Okay.
And you can see it's made up of all these items. It's all nickels and dimes, but
Right.
at the end
They
of
add
it,
up.
yeah, they add up. And then the same thing. So then on the local aid estimates, we really missed. We missed by 25,000.
Mhm.
When the assessor is putting together the tax recap to calculate the tax rate, he's talking to everybody. He's talking to the tax collector, he's talking to the accountant. These are the numbers he comes up with. This was a shocker to me because it rises every year. So I was really surprised that he used this number. He's probably seeing that these excise taxes, the VRBOs are, he must see what the collections are year to date,
Mhm.
or what they were in 25 and adjust it. And I'm sure that's true for these other things. So unfortunately, we missed here. And then this 940, I'm not sure what that is. But anyways, I'm going to jump to the bottom and I'm going to show you what I just showed you. So these are the areas where we missed. This is one where we did well, but these are the two big items that we missed.
Mhm.
So we overestimated revenues by 26,743. And that equates to about $30 on the average single family tax bill. So that wasn't the reason why we missed as much as we did. And I'm going to show everybody what we missed. So when we prepare the budget in this column, we know that this won't be the real tax rate. And we also know that this won't be the real single family tax value. We also know that this won't be the real assessed value, which is assessed value divided into revenues for the tax levy equals the tax rate.
Mhm.
We keep the assessed numbers steady because we don't know how much they're going to increase, but they usually increase in lockstep. When the assessed value of the town goes up 5%, the average single family home goes up 5%. So no matter what calculation we use, you'll get the same number.
Mhm.
That makes sense?
Yep.
And so we were confident with this number here, 6,672. And we basically reported on our budget that would be a $415 increase from FY 25.
Mhm.
What happened was the assessed value of the town went up by about 5%. But the
Right,
assessed
right.
value of residential property went up more. And that's what I read in the newspaper article. And that's what the comments were at this select board meeting. And so, and those of you who are at the four town meeting, Sean Magano actually addressed this when he was answering the question to a person who said, how come our taxes go up by more than 2.5%? And he said the shift between how much the commercial properties are supporting and how much residential properties are supporting can change. And when that happens, one or the other picks up a greater share of the tax levy. So what happened with us was the single family value here went up by more than the total assessed value of the whole town, which meant that the single family payers actually pick up a greater portion. And that's what I believe. So I wrote this here. Hope this makes sense. So the 26,743 that we missed in revenue, we overestimated in revenue, that comes out to about $30 per single family home. Then the property tax assessment increased by 4.6, but the average single family by 5.6. Had the average single family value increased by 4.6, the value, this 417 being used here, would have been 413,785. And that would have resulted in an average single tax bill of 6,707. Okay. And so there's what it is.
I see.
The 770, there's what we would have had if it had increased at the same level as the whole value. That accounts for about $63. This is what I think happened. This makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And so I think as a member of the Board of Assessors, I need to talk to the head assessor about how we can do a better job of, accounting for something like this, if we even can, or include him in this conversation when present to him our budget that we put together, show him this calculation and see what he thinks.
Yeah.
We haven't hired him, by the way. But he looks like he's going to be our next replacement. He contracted with us this year to do the tax recap, and he's retiring in March. And we are going to make an offer to him to work for us full time. But until that happens, but this is what I think happened.
Got it.
This is what it looks like happened.
So in other words, about a third of that sort of roughly $100 discrepancy in the average single family tax bill. About a third of that was a function of us um,
Not being conservative
overestimating
enough.
overestimating some
Yes.
state aid revenues, and about 2/3 of it was this shift and the greater proportion of increased values of residential property versus non-residential property. Is that
Resulting in an increased proportion of the amount of tax levy that
Yeah.
the residents pay.
okay?
That's correct.
How unusual was that? Just is that discrepancy? The fact that
Yeah,
we would see a different kind of increase for all property versus residential property.
I would say that it's probably common. And I think we never really saw it because we always underestimated the revenues, that first part, that 27,000, usually it goes the other way. And we just weren't conservative enough. And we've always did well, and we always ended up with a lower average single tax increase than we projected. So we never looked into it. But what I will say is one thing we do know with some of the commercial property is some of the commercial property depreciates.
Mhm.
And I know that's true for personal property. It might be true for real estate as well. Their real estate. If that's true, then sometimes commercial properties are going to go down until the utility company adds more things.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not the best. I'm not really sure, AJ.
Okay. Got it.
But we
Susie.
do know that it happened in Amherst because Sean mentioned it.
Mentioned it. Yeah. Susie?
So the other property that is part of the 4.6 does that include, we don't have much commercial. Does that include state land or Cole's undeveloped land? What's in that part of the 4.6?
It does not include state land. State land is all in the local aid under pilot money,
Mhm.
payment in lieu of taxes. Coles, don't know. A lot of Coles land is in Chapter 60. I don't think it's considered commercial. I think it's probably in residential. I'd have to find out, Susie. The commercial property is going to be the solar that we have in town. It's going to be Clark and Clark, the two different Clark businesses. It's going to be some utility properties. Utilities have a pretty good footprint. Now, a lot of their tax is in personal property, not real property.
Right.
But personal property is in here. It's in the
Okay.
tax recap. It's one of the sources of the tax levy. So that's where the depreciation happens. Their poles, they put them in, we have a value, and then we tax it at a lower rate over I'm not even sure, 10, 20-year period, depending on what the equipment is.
And the other thing is he looked at local aid and came up with different numbers, but those are not hard numbers, right? We don't
Right,
have
these are estimates. That's correct.
those
They're
are
not
estimates.
receipts.
And so he gets to estimate differently than us, but I'm not sure that that's gonna pan out as that his idea is,
He may
Right.
be very conservative.
yeah,
And, some towns look at it as a way to generate cash.
yeah.
Mm.
So these aren't set and I don't know. I feel like a conversation would have been good, but maybe it's considered his own domain to make those.
Well, I'll talk to them about that for next year and see if we can do something a little better. It is his domain, but he's working with Gail, he's working with Ellen, he's working with Leslie, and he's not, he's looking at these numbers. He's got his rationale. And I would say like the second item, the excise tax, he probably looked at 25. He wouldn't cut it by more than half if he didn't have some basis for that. So,
Hmm.
Is there ever a process where these actually get reconciled with actual
the free
receipt?
cash process when they close the books.
It's free cash. Got it. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
George, is this the guy that used to work in Belchertown?
Yes,
Okay.
Jay Whalen.
Yeah, we
It's
met him at
actually
the
John
we met him
Whalen,
at the-
but his name is Jay. Do you know him?
we met him at the
Oh, right.
the
Summit.
workshop. He was on
That's
the work
right.
summit.
I forgot. Yes, I wasn't there. Yes. So we'll see. I can't really. I probably said too much about our relationship with him, but we are hopeful that he might be able to be our assessor. We'll see.
Okay. Any other questions for George on this?
Have we had any noise come back. I mean, so it comes up in the paper, $500. People may not remember what we projected because that's on a paper that we have. Have we heard anything?
I haven't. I will tell you this, I read these articles for all the towns, right? I read the Gazette every morning, of course, and what this article was is a standard template that the Gazette uses every time a town has a tax classification hearing. And what's good about these articles is there's no comparison to any kind of proposals that were made generally, and there's no real drama in it. These are just the facts. In fact, I talked to my wife about this today, and she said, the article just read like, here it is, and it's like, it does. But
Yeah.
of course, there are going to be some people in town. We're not the only ones who have the piece of paper to just, there are people who took the budget home and they have it in their drawer. I'm sure some people are going to pull it out and look at it. No doubt about it.
But
One of
the
the
thing that
reasons
the thing the newspaper didn't do is it said, we were not as high as some of the average family ones, but it didn't say what other towns' increases in terms of dollars are. I think I'm not sure where people are in setting their tax rates, whether we're early. And so I'll be watching the newspaper, but it would have been helpful not to just compare the bottom line, but to compare the increase because that's the headline. That's what people are being bopped.
Yes, yeah, and one of the reasons they didn't do that, Susie, I'm sure, is because a lot of towns haven't got their tax rates set.
Not okay.
You're going to see those articles in the course of the next 4 weeks.
Okay.
Hadley, Sunderland, Whately, all the towns. It's going to start coming out. Amherst, I don't think Amherst has been out yet. Ours is early, but we contracted with this person very early, with Jay very early, and he got right down to it. And we were lucky because David Burgess, whose employment ended in June, was hanging around for the last 3 months and worked with Jay, who he knows very well. And they worked together very easily. And so a lot of work was taken care of. And Roy Bishop was on it as well. So we'll see what 2026 has. But I thought maybe you will be interested to see what the average single tax bills for last year were for some of the select towns. I got this from the assessor's office, so you can see where we are relative to other towns. And as you know, Pelham, Leverett, and Amherst are always higher than us. Amherst is more than $2,000 higher than us. It's not on here, but Amherst's bill is almost 10. I think it's over $10,000, the average single family. So even in fiscal 25. So yeah, we were about 50 percentile in FY25. If you go to the DLS website, you can see all the towns, they rank them, and we were pretty much smack dab in the middle in the Commonwealth, which is not bad for a town that doesn't have a commercial base. Unfortunately, that's changing.
All right. Well, thanks for walking us through that, George, and thanks for doing.
Oh, you're welcome. I
Reconcile.
Could you
take it
send
personally.
it to me, please?
Oh,
Will
that
you send me
spreadsheet?
that table? Yeah.
This one right here?
The spreadsheet.
All right, I'll send it to everybody.
Great.
All right,
Okay.
let me stop.
Anything else for George before we move on? All right. Susie, did you want to update us on community outreach work? And I know you've got a project you're
Yeah.
thinking
So
about.
Laura and I laid out a path for a
Mhm.
once a month shot of fiscal information for the town. We followed the timeline of the budget process. So we started off with lobbying because the budgets aren't set yet. And there were a lot of different topics that have legislation in front of our state legislature, and we wanted people to have access to how you would connect. That went out as a town announce. I had one person respond to me when they saw it. But Laura and I recognize that a town announce is not very deep into the soil of grassroots. And there's actually 682 people people on town announce. I'm not sure if they're all Shutesbury people, but probably are. And that's out of 980 households. And I don't know if some of those houses are two people from the same house signed up for town announce. So like in my house, both of us get it. So, 600 does not represent a vast majority of the people in town. So Laura and I talked about what other ways to do outreach besides this one shot over the bow. And we, because I'm connected to the school budget as the liaison, and that issue is the hottest one in front of us right now. I connected to the PTO. I got on their agenda on Monday and went in. And what I was going to find out is how many people had seen the town announce and what kind of more information they wanted and how they wanted to maybe activate people around it. So I got some good ideas. And most of the people in that room were not on town announce. So it's, yep, here we go. We're talking, we're making a noise, but it's not being heard. So for one thing, it's getting people to get on town announce. Another thing was I gave them a printout of what we had said, but the links didn't come out very clearly. And our principal was there, and I asked her if we could put our fiscal news flashes in the Road Town News, and that's going to happen. So when I got home, Elizabeth Murphy, who is the treasurer of the PTO, contacted me and said, we can share this information with our classroom liaisons. So that's another way that they might get to see this information. But if people want to write to the legislature, we need a text for some messaging that they can use. And another parent at the group said, yeah, we don't have time to figure this out. Just give us the message. So,
Yes.
so then I'm in a different quadrant. It's not just passing on our information, it's people wanting us to process it for them and with them. So I drafted something, but again, the FinCom asked to see what information Laura or I drafted. And so that's one thing to think about. The timing of urgency is a little bit hard. There was a big Zoom meeting yesterday, and the MTA submitted that letter that people on the FinCom in Shutesbury signed on to. And there were 1,078 signatures for that, and it was presented to the governor, and it's pretty direct. And that's just one of the many steps that's being taken to bring this issue to bear on the legislature. So I could just send that letter to Elizabeth and she can decide how to distribute it. She does think that she would like to be a liaison to the FinCom for the PTO, which we've never had that before, because she wants to keep track of the information, and then she would funnel it to the school community as she sees useful. And I did testify in Greenfield. George and I went up there and I did my testimony, but that was me. And I did say I'm a member of the FinCom, but I didn't testify as the FinCom. But that whole boundary of being a voice, having a voice, using my voice, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I felt just a town announce isn't enough. If you want to engage people, you have to do the grassroots stuff. One of the things I was thinking about is doing popcorn and postcards. And they thought it would be good if I did it at the library once it opens and have a session where you advertise and people can come and write out a postcard. I figured out that Finding a stamp and an address is tough, so we would just collect them all in a big mail bag and begin to send bags of postcards to the legislators. I know Joe and Natalie would happily distribute them to other people. So it's this community building part, helping people be more aware and participate at whatever level, whether it's a already done text postcard that they just sign their name and address, or it's people emailing, or they write their own message. Other towns are working on this. Leverett, I don't think that guy, Tim Shores, he didn't announce it. But Leverett's going to have a meeting with Joe Comerford, Natalie Blay, Jessica Kerwin, who spoke at the testimony. They're going to have a meeting in the Leverett Library on December 13th. If this idea of a postcard can get generated, then every time we go somewhere, we can bring these postcards, collect them, and send them to the legislature. So that's an opportunity, and they're addressing all the things that were addressed at the hearing in Greenfield. And the PTO said, well, we're going to have a skating party on January 31st. You can bring the postcards, you can hand them out, you can collect them. And I know AJ likes to skate, they said, so I'm sure he'll be at that skating party. And so those are the things that are coming up right now. On the MTA letter where there's 1,078 signatures, Shutesbury had 8 or 9. Some towns didn't get the message. Our select board didn't get the message, but in the over 1,000 signatures, it covered FinCom, school committee members, and select boards from towns all over Massachusetts. And I think we have to stay with this wave of energy and finding effective ways beyond a town announce. Like take that town announce and then ground it into activities that people can participate in. That's what I think's going on.
Yeah. That I saw in the Gazette that I think that's the lead article in the online Gazette, at least, is the letter and an article about it. So and they include the full text of the letter and all the signatories. Yeah, I think that sounds great. I mean, what action or what steps do you think we can take as a FinCom to so I think you need to get back to, is it Elizabeth? Is that her name?
Yeah.
From the PTO? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you had drafted a letter. Do you want us to look at that right now and see if the finance committee can sign off on that so that you can represent it as the finance committee's position?
Yeah, as a committee we want to do it. I can represent it as my part because this is where I'm spending a lot of time and energy. I can represent it as I think if you show it to them, it's not
Yeah.
totally just information that's out there. It's how you spin it that makes
Yeah.
a difference.
All right. Well, if it's okay with you, let me share the text that you had sent me, and we can talk about whether the committee's comfortable with us having you represent this as not just your own individual perspective. So we're looking at the blue text here. Maybe let's all take a minute to just read this here.
Could you blow it up, please?
Yeah. Does that help? Or let's see.
A little. That's better.
That's better. All right. The only suggestion I would make to allow you to represent this as the FinCom's
Mhm.
view would be to say that, and where you say facing a 6+% increase in property tax for FY26 and FY27 looks worse. I might just say something like, and FY27 may be worse or something
Or
like
we
that.
anticipate that FY27 will be roughly the same.
See, I don't want to. I just am hesitant to because I just think it's early sort of
To make a
stages
prediction.
still, and I'm hesitant to create like a very specific expectation because we don't quite know what we're going to be
Right.
getting back from departments. So that's why I'm thinking maybe just hedging a little bit and saying something like an FY27 may be worse.
Okay.
Uh, And if I may, in the same paragraph at the bottom of the paragraph, the last
Yeah.
sentence, I like, first of all, Susie, I think this is great. I'd rather not use terms like wrecking ball. I'd rather say all town services are damaged by these are affected by these.
Mm.
All town services are affected by these budget pressures. I think you don't need the word the.
Mm.
This scenario and draws funds away from something to the effect of draws funds away from other affects other departments as well as it draws funds away from other or the
Well, we can
ability to
just
fund
drop
other
that last
services.
sentence because the one before it says all town
Yeah.
services. And instead
Yeah.
of damaged, we use affected.
Yeah, I think effect is better. I just don't want to use, I'd
Mhm.
rather keep it a little more professional for the legislators.
Okay,
Not that damage isn't right. It is.
right.
This is great.
Well, these are, yeah, and so this is an interesting thing. People want to participate, but they know nothing. And so
Mhm.
this is way more than anybody needs to know also. Put it on a postcard. That's taking a complicated thing and trying to shrink it. So this is really a paragraph that I expect, or a short shot that I expect people to take from, not
Mhm.
do
Right.
entirely. Um, and so yeah, that's right. I know that the tone can get somewhere that I don't really want it to get, so I appreciate the editing. And then just for your knowledge, it's 38,480 students or so are in these towns that are being whacked by this.
Mhm.
So okay, so I will make sure I bring things up. I sent to Elizabeth the MTA letter, which is
Mhm.
very
Yeah.
specific. Actually it's quite strong.
Mhm.
Um, and I think what I have to do if I hold postcard sessions, I have to have this information out for people. What I want out of a popcorn and postcard session is that people talk to each other and get ideas from each other. It's not just like how many postcards we can send, but how aware we can make people and involved and get a little skin in the game. And so just having gone to the PTO, now Elizabeth needs to know. She wants to know. And Ann McGill signed that MTA letter and not through us. So some people did get it from another source. But the other events that are happening is on December 10th. Joe Comerford's holding a town hall, a virtual one. And I'm not sure why, if everybody gets these informations, like I got the MTA letter, and I'm getting the town hall announcement. I don't know if people want me to forward it to them or if you already are getting it through some contact you have with people involved in this issue.
I got the Comerford Town Hall email, but I think I get her
Okay.
public. But I'm wondering, is that event that Leverett is hosting, is that
Mhm.
open to
I'm
the
working on
public?
finding that out. It's
Okay.
just, I have to get somebody in town hall to get me Tim Shore's contact.
All right.
But I did email him right
Okay.
away, but I don't think he got it because I had to send it to the town to get to him.
Oh, I
So
see.
anyways,
All right.
that one will be, I mean, if I can get this postcard idea going, I'd bring those blank postcards there.
Yeah.
And Ann McGill said I could put a bag in the front hallway for people to drop off their postcards. And then I just send them in groups, in batches, so that it has more of an impact than just one postcard at a time.
Yeah. I think that's great. That would be great. Um, the other question I had for you is I know it was probably a long hearing, but is the Greenfield event that you and George attended, was that recorded? And do you know if there's a video available of it?
It was recorded, and I think Joe Comerford's office has that.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna
Yeah,
try to
I
dig that
got-
up. And
I got that in an email somewhere
you did?
from.
Would you mind
from-
sharing that, Molly? Yeah. If you
Sure,
find it? Yeah.
if I find it. Can I, Susie, the second
Yeah.
sentence, I think needs just some edits.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you probably want to say the well-researched
Yes.
report
Okay.
and rural schools.
Okay.
And then I don't know if it's have been struggling or still had, I don't know. I'm not so good at editing at this time of night.
Yeah.
Yeah, me
In
neither.
2001, the
And I'll look at it
legislature
again. This was
well
me trying to
researched
get a
report.
draft out,
Mhm.
because I knew it either be at this meeting or not. So now and I will edit it more carefully.
Yeah, Susie, on the last paragraph.
Yep.
You referenced 34 recommendations.
Yep.
And then you talk about supporting these two resolutions. Is a lot of these recommendations within those resolutions, is that mostly that $60 million type of?
So Natalie Blay has the text that's proposed for for this legislation. And yeah, she was one of the spearheads of the 2022 report. And so yeah, she's put in the pieces of the recommendation. What was probably what set people on fire was that, the number of 60 million was the first recommendation on the list. And in fact, the state cut that rural aid
Yeah.
25%. It's like, where are you coming from? And so the MTA letter has a lot of the same parts of the recommendation, strengthening the SPED circuit breaker program. That's in there. And so, yeah, we are in a massive time right now on this one. This is not, and this started in 2019 with the Student Opportunity Act. They recognized right then that the rural schools were not going to do well until they addressed it. And so it came out at the same time as it was recommended by this committee. There was a commission recommended because they knew they had to address it. And the report was in 2022 and nothing's come of it other than political fire. All right, I will edit it more carefully. I'll send it out as an information paragraph
Mhm.
to Elizabeth. She'll decide the best way to reach parents that won't infringe on the school process. And also whatever sources people see that sound like we want to be pushing that, we can do that. And when I get to the first postcard time, which I believe will be the Leverett one, I will have vetted these information sheets to the FinCom. But I didn't sign this in any way. I'll have to think about a signature thing. I guess we'll just say the Shutesbury Finance Committee recommends this or something.
Yeah. I think you can represent it as something we discuss and endorse.
Yeah. And any other things people can think about, how do you connect to people? So I did the PTO. Somebody wanted to know if I was going to present to the school committee. I guess that makes sense. And there are sort of social groups in town. I will probably present this to the Laughing Old Ladies. This this is where we need to, but we need to give people a specific action, and that's why I thought the
Right.
postcard or emails are what have to come from the townspeople.
One thought I have, Susie, is just throw it out there real quick. Many times you go somewhere, an event, and there's a table set up.
Yeah.
And you have things to try to attract people to the table, and then you do your thing. And we're gonna have a library seller ceremony for the new building.
Yeah,
Wouldn't hurt to have something on the side,
Right.
a lot of people streaming in. And every time we have some sort of event in
Yep.
town and maybe even elsewhere,
Mhm.
be prepared to I just found out on Saturday there's
Right.
something going on at the middle school. Throw
Right.
that table in the car, get the volunteers together and get down there,
Right.
Mhm.
I agree. And I think that that's the kind of visibility the FinCom will profit from, because when it comes to town meeting, they'll know who we are, they'll know what we've been working on, they'll see our effort, and they will help support the things that we're trying to make happen.
That said, we're busy and I'm on 3 committees.
Yeah, Elizabeth said there's a book fair tonight. You're going to be there? It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to be at the FinCom meeting.
Well, I appreciate it.
Okay, good.
All right. That is all I have on the agenda for tonight. Is there anything else folks needed to discuss?
Yes, I need to tell you a little bit about the school. They're
Yeah.
going to put out their draft budget
Mhm.
tomorrow night. They have the
Okay.
meeting.
Mhm.
And Caitlin gave me a heads up. She said, we put together a level services budget, but I got to give you a heads up. There's sticker shock because there's an out of district placement in here and the transportation costs. And this is their first throw it out and start working harder on it. But here we are. So when you see all the list of things that need to get fixed at the state level,
Mhm.
you can also support the SPED
Mhm.
circuit breaker problems, because they are upon us.
Just to be clear, it's a new out of
The
district.
second placement, right?
Yes.
I don't know if the first placement is still there, but this is a new one.
Okay. Got it. All right. Well, I'm going to send a link to that Google folder. Susie, I guess whenever you do get
Yep.
draft, you can just drop it in there, or
Okay.
yeah, and take it from there. Anything else folks needed to discuss or share?
I just want to tell you, AJ, I should have mentioned it earlier. You're going to create that Google Drive. I'll also
Yeah.
put in there the schedule for FY27 FinCom transfers, and I'll start the project capitalization. I'm sorry, the CapEx
CapEx,
schedule
yeah.
as well. They won't
That'd be
necessarily be ready immediately, but I'll get going on those and get those in place.
Okay, terrific. That'd be
Oh.
great.
I have
Unless
to
you want to do it.
mention, do we, there are different projects that we need to look into, and one of them is, oh, that's the wrong paper. One of them is a SPED stabilization fund. I talked
Mhm.
with Caitlin about that, and so I can send the state description of what that is, and we should maybe
Mhm.
begin to think about that. We
Mhm.
also can be thinking about our trash process, because the contract will be up in in 2027. And if we are making any changes to our trash program,
Mhm.
we need to be working on that now, because it would be a select board
Mhm.
decision. It would be a FinCom advising, and it would be the recycling committee. And
Mhm.
so I wonder if we need I wonder what we need to prepare before we take it out there.
Yeah.
Susie, what was the item before that you mentioned?
The SPED stabilization
Oh,
fund.
right. Yeah, no, I'm totally on board. We need a sped stabilization fund. And I think that's how we should be using a portion of our charter money, our school choice money.
money. And the last idea I had was the capital stabilization, and we already know we're going to invite John Trickey, but these are kind of all tools on deck, right? We
Yeah.
need to start getting it. And so the trash one, we need to I looked at what Leverett did, and the difference between what we spend a year and Leverett spends a year is about 70,000. But they do not pick up your trash, and so
You were comparing the costs of their running the transfer station versus our contract
yes,
for
all of
trash
their
pickup.
expenses for trash
Mhm.
and all of ours, and about $70,000. And the reason I was attracted to the Leverett plan, which is not the only plan out there that's an alternative, is because it uses a lot of volunteers. It becomes a platform for people in town to see each other, volunteer to do things together, and and it's cost effective
Mhm.
trash collection. The
I
pe-
wonder if if part of that model could be a joint kind of regional transfer station, like would they have the capacity if we combined
right,
efforts for both towns,
right.
and if that would further reduce those costs? I would think it would, right?
Right. So what I'm aware of is this is not just a financial decision.
Mhm.
And so how do you go from we should look into this to looking into this? I
Yeah.
find going to places, visiting them tells me a lot more than what it's on the paper. You can't really see the volunteer community network that came out of this. I don't, the space they use is bigger than what we have, particularly, we haven't identified a space big enough. But I believe what we need to do is say, if we agree as a committee that we're going to look into this, then we would go to the select board and say, we need to be looking at this. And so who do you want to sit down together to begin the process of evaluating and looking into this? And
Yeah.
what the
I mean, maybe
options are.
one thought, Susie, is that it might be um, it might be worthwhile to actually invite the select board to a FinCom meeting. I don't know if they um, to talk about a couple of sort of long-term planning ideas, or including that one. I think there's another one that's come up, which is sort of the health insurance. I know that there are people working on that, and that's further along. But I think our committee would still be interested in learning about kind of what our options are in terms of thinking about potentially a different provider or what options exist. I feel like another kind of long-term project has been to think about the sort of benefits policies. I think this came up at our um, department head meeting, some ideas about, well, is it time to take a fresh look at those policies and thinking about kind of what's the distributions of who's responsible for what portion? Are part-time employees eligible for the same benefits as full-time? Like all of those policies, like it might be worth having a few people look at that and discuss it and talk about it. So maybe there's an opportunity for us to invite the select board to talk about a few different topics to see where we might want to start to follow up and actually form some kinds of, committees, groups to work on those ideas and study them.
I think the trash one, because there's a contract that has to be
Yes.
done in 2027, we would at least get a quick start on
Yeah,
some of
that's
the
a little
things
more
on the
pressing.
list. Yep.
Yeah.
To me, that sounds like an ad hoc committee because I think it needs to be made up of various people from various committees.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so not necessarily our project, but the select board, if you show them those numbers, they're probably going to say, that's a big difference. We really should look into it.
Right. So so at least we got to get there and show them the numbers and get a go ahead to start a committee that has the different stakeholders in it.
Yeah. Okay. Let me give a call to Melissa or Rita and see if they would be available to join us either at our next meeting or the one after that to just talk about the this idea of forming a study group to look at trash options and potentially
Great.
other projects.
Great.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Anything else? Okay, next meeting is 2 weeks. That is
December 2nd.
December 2nd. And
Tuesday.
hopefully we'll meet with Highway and Fire.
And Laura and I will have this next one, the drafted next news flash, because we want it out in the middle of the month and you need to see it first. So it'll be on the December 2nd agenda.
Awesome. That's great.
And I will not be attending that next meeting.
Okay.
And I'll let you know if the highway chief can. And also, AJ, maybe in December, you, me, Haley,
Yes.
we can
Mhm.
continue the long range plan.
Yes. That sounds great. I'll send you guys. What are your travel plans, George? Are you?
I'm gone all next week, and I'll be
Oh,
back. I'm coming home on that the 2nd. So anytime after the 4th or after,
Okay,
just give me
Okay.
some options.
Yeah. Okay. I'll send an email. We'll find some 1 or 2 options during that week. Okay.
Thank
I
you.
will make a motion to adjourn the FinCom.
Second, Arvind, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Moss eye.
Boyd, I.
Walton, I.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
See you in a couple
Good night.
weeks. All right.
See ya.
You all have a good one.
You too.
See you.
Mhm.